3 years ago, a 71-year-old retired postal worker sat across from me in my clinic with a blood pressure reading of 158/94. He wasn't ignoring his health. He was doing what he thought was right. He'd cut back on salt. He was walking 30 minutes most mornings. He'd even given up the bacon he loved. And still, every time the cuff came off his arm, the numbers were wrong. His doctor had mentioned medication at the last visit. He wasn't ready for that. Not yet. What nobody had told him, and what I'm going to tell you today, was that what he drank in the 2 hours before bed was quietly working against everything he was doing right. And there was one simple change he could make starting tonight that had more evidence behind it than most people realize. I'm Dr. Elliot Marsh. I've spent 20 years managing heart health as a cardiologist, and one of the patterns I see most consistently is this. People focus on what they eat, and they almost completely overlook what they drink, especially at night, when the body is preparing for its most important recovery window. That gap is what this conversation is about. Stay with me, because the drink I'm going to show you at number 1 is not what most people guess. And the research behind it genuinely surprised me when I first looked at it closely. Here's what we're covering today. 5 drinks ranked by their impact on nighttime blood pressure, from number 5 down to the one that matters most. Number 1 is something you can have in your hand within 10 minutes of this video ending. And after the 5 drinks, stay with me for 2 bonus strategies that will make everything you drink work harder for your heart, including one that most people have completely backwards. Let me take a moment to explain what's actually happening in your body at night, because once you understand this, every drink on this list will make perfect sense. Your blood pressure is not fixed. It rises and falls throughout the day in a predictable pattern. For a healthy cardiovascular system, blood pressure should drop during sleep. Doctors call this the nighttime dip. It's the body's chance to rest, repair, and take pressure off the walls of your arteries. But here's what happens in millions of people over 60. The nighttime dip disappears. Blood pressure stays elevated through the night, or worse, it rises. The arteries never get their rest. Think of it like a garden hose left on full pressure, 24 hours a day. Eventually, the hose starts to wear. The walls weaken, the connections strain. This pattern, called non-dipping, is associated with significantly higher risk of stroke, heart attack, and kidney damage. And the frightening part? Most people have no idea it's happening because you're asleep when it occurs. But here's what should motivate you. What you consume in the 2 to 3 hours before sleep has a measurable effect on whether that nighttime dip happens or not. The right drink can lower vascular resistance, relax arterial walls, and help your body do what it's designed to do while you sleep. That's exactly what these 5 drinks target. Number 5. Warm, low-sodium broth. Most people reach for something sweet at night. A cookie, a small bowl of something, a juice. And I understand that. There's comfort in it. But that late-night sugar and sodium is quietly keeping your blood vessels tighter than they need to be, right when your body wants to relax. Warm, low-sodium broth, chicken, beef, or vegetable, does something different. The warmth itself triggers a mild parasympathetic response. Think of it this way. Your nervous system has 2 modes, fight or flight and rest and digest. Warmth and stillness nudge the system toward rest. And when you're in rest mode, blood vessels dilate slightly, heart rate slows, and blood pressure begins to ease. The key word is low sodium. Regular broth can contain 600 to 900 milligrams of sodium per cup. That's the opposite of what you want before bed. Look for broth with under 140 milligrams per serving. 1 cup, warm, 30 to 45 minutes before sleep. Common mistake, people assume any warm drink counts. Hot tea with sugar, warm milk with honey. These raise insulin and can keep cortisol slightly elevated. Plain low-sodium broth is simple, savory, and works with the body rather than against it. Now let me tell you about something most people overlook when it comes to nighttime blood pressure. Number 4. Hibiscus tea. I want to be honest with you. When I first read the research on hibiscus and blood pressure, I was skeptical. It seemed too simple. A flower tea. But the evidence is not small, and it is not new. Hibiscus contains compounds called anthocyanins and organic acids that act on the same pathways as a class of blood pressure medications called ACE inhibitors. They help relax the blood vessel walls and reduce the resistance your heart has to pump against. Picture your arteries like a tight rubber tube. Hibiscus helps that tube soften and widen. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that adults who drank hibiscus tea daily experienced a meaningful reduction in systolic blood pressure, the top number, compared to a placebo group. The effect was most pronounced in people who started with elevated readings. Here's exactly how to use it. 1 cup of hibiscus tea, brewed from dried hibiscus flowers or a tea bag, steeped for 5 to 7 minutes, consumed 60 to 90 minutes before bed. Do not add sugar. A small squeeze of lemon is fine. The flavor is tart, almost like a cranberry. Most people enjoy it once they get past the expectation that it should taste sweet. Remember this: no sugar. Sweetening hibiscus tea with even a teaspoon of sugar blunts the vascular benefit. If you need it slightly less tart, dilute it with a little more hot water. Caution: if you take blood pressure medication already, speak to your doctor before making this a nightly habit. Hibiscus can have an additive effect, and your doctor may want to monitor your readings as you add it. Have you ever tried hibiscus tea? Tell me in the comments. I'm curious how many of you are already familiar with it. Here's the part that genuinely surprised me when I first looked at the research for number 3. Number 3. Tart cherry juice. This is not a drink most people associate with blood pressure. It's better known for sleep and joint pain. But the cardiovascular research has quietly been building, and I think it deserves more attention. Tart cherries, specifically Montmorency cherries, contain a high concentration of melatonin, which helps with sleep onset, and a group of anti-inflammatory compounds called polyphenols that reduce arterial stiffness. Stiff arteries are one of the primary reasons blood pressure climbs with age. Think of young arteries like new rubber bands, flexible, springy. Aged, inflamed arteries are like old rubber bands left in a drawer. They don't stretch, they resist. And resistance means higher pressure. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that tart cherry juice was associated with reduced arterial stiffness and lower systolic blood pressure in older adults after regular consumption. The combination of better sleep quality and reduced vascular inflammation makes this one genuinely 2 for 1. 8 ounces, roughly 1 cup, of unsweetened tart cherry juice, 45 to 60 minutes before bed. Not sweetened cherry cocktail, not regular cherry juice. Tart cherry, unsweetened. It has a sharp, almost sour flavor. It's an acquired taste, but most people adjust within a week. One of my patients, a 68-year-old retired nurse who had been struggling with both poor sleep and a systolic reading consistently around 145, added tart cherry juice to her evening routine. Within 3 weeks, she reported sleeping through the night for the first time in months. Her follow-up blood pressure readings had dropped by an average of 9 points systolic. She hadn't changed anything else. My friends, before we get to numbers 2 and 1, and number 1 is the one that surprises most people the most, please hit the like button. It genuinely helps this reach people who are managing blood pressure quietly and don't know these options exist. Subscribe if you haven't. Now let's go to number 2. Number 2. Warm water with magnesium. Magnesium is one of the most underappreciated minerals in cardiovascular health. I tell every patient who walks into my clinic with elevated blood pressure, the first thing I want to know is whether they're getting enough magnesium. Most are not. Here's why it matters for nighttime specifically. Magnesium acts as a natural calcium channel blocker, which is actually a category of blood pressure medication. It prevents too much calcium from entering the muscle cells in artery walls, which keeps those walls relaxed instead of contracted. Contracted artery walls mean higher pressure. Relaxed walls mean lower pressure. The nighttime connection is this: magnesium levels drop during stress and rise during rest. If you're going to bed already depleted, which most people over 60 are, your arteries don't get the relaxation signal they need. Replenishing magnesium in the evening is like giving your blood vessels permission to let go. Mix 100 to 200 milligrams of magnesium glycinate or magnesium citrate powder into 8 ounces of warm water, 30 to 60 minutes before bed. Magnesium glycinate is gentler on the stomach. That's usually what I recommend starting with. Write that down. Magnesium glycinate, 100 to 200 milligrams, in warm water before bed. That's the version with the best absorption and the least digestive disruption. Common mistake. People buy magnesium oxide because it's cheapest and most common. It has poor absorption. Most of it passes right through. Glycinate or citrate are the forms that actually reach the bloodstream. Caution. If you have kidney disease, please speak to your doctor before supplementing magnesium. Healthy kidneys regulate magnesium well. Compromised kidneys do not. And now, number one, beetroot juice. I know what you're thinking. Beet juice? That's the big revelation? Hear me out, because the research behind this is some of the most consistent and compelling I've seen on any single dietary intervention for blood pressure in older adults. Beetroot is extraordinarily high in dietary nitrates. And here's the mechanism that makes this so powerful. When you consume dietary nitrates, your body converts them into nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a molecule that signals the smooth muscle lining your blood vessels to relax and widen. It's essentially a natural vasodilator, the same fundamental mechanism targeted by some of the most widely prescribed blood pressure medications. The nighttime timing matters enormously here. Nitric oxide production from dietary nitrates peaks roughly 2 to 3 hours after consumption. If you drink beetroot juice 60 to 90 minutes before bed, that peak hits right as you're entering deep sleep, precisely when your body most needs vascular relaxation to achieve that healthy nighttime dip. A study published in Hypertension found that a single dose of beetroot juice reduced systolic blood pressure by an average of 8 points within hours of consumption in adults with elevated readings. 8 points from one drink. That is a clinically meaningful number. Here's exactly how to use it. 200 to 250 milliliters, roughly 8 ounces, of pure unsweetened beetroot juice. Not a beetroot blend with apple or carrot added in high quantities. Pure beet, or as close to it as you can find. 60 to 90 minutes before bed. Some people add a small amount of lemon juice to cut the earthy flavor. If you remember nothing else from today, remember this. Pure beetroot juice, 8 ounces, 60 to 90 minutes before sleep. That is the prescription. Common mistake, people drink it right before lying down. The nitrate to nitric oxide conversion takes time. Give it the full 60 to 90 minutes. Drinking it immediately before bed wastes most of the effect. Progression. If you want to increase the impact, pair it with a small handful of leafy greens at dinner. Spinach, arugula, or rocket. These are also high in dietary nitrates, and the combined effect on nitric oxide production is additive. One important note, beetroot juice will turn your urine and sometimes your stool red or pink. This is harmless, it's called beeturia, but it surprises people who aren't expecting it. Don't be alarmed. Caution, if you have a history of kidney stones, speak to your doctor first. Beetroot is high in oxalates. For most people it's completely safe, but that conversation is worth having. Does this sound like something you'd actually try? I genuinely want to know. Drop it in the comments. Now, the 2 bonus strategies I promised you. Quick, but they change how well everything you've just learned actually works. Bonus number 1, stop drinking anything 2 hours before bed, except for the drinks on this list. This sounds counterproductive, but here's the reasoning. Nighttime urination is one of the most common disruptors of the deep sleep stages when blood pressure recovery happens. Water, herbal teas with diuretic effects, and especially alcohol, all increase the likelihood of waking at 2 or 3 in the morning. When that happens, your cortisol spikes, your heart rate rises, and your blood pressure climbs. The drinks on this list are specifically chosen to be low in diuretic effect while delivering vascular benefit. Stick to small quantities, 8 ounces, and time them correctly. Bonus number 2. The temperature matters more than you think. Warm drinks, not hot, not cold. Trigger a mild relaxation response in the esophagus and gut that signals the nervous system to downshift. Cold drinks, even healthy ones, can cause a brief spike in sympathetic nervous activity. If you're making beetroot juice or tart cherry juice part of your evening, gently warm it. Not boiling, you'll damage some of the active compounds. Aim for the temperature of a warm bath. Comfortable, not hot. Now, I want to stop here for a moment, because something important needs to be said. That retired postal worker I told you about at the beginning, the man who was walking every morning, cutting salt, giving up the foods he loved, and still watching the numbers climb. 6 months after our conversation about his evenings, about what he was drinking in that quiet window before sleep, he came back in. His resting blood pressure was 134/81, not perfect, but transformed. He'd made 2 changes, hibiscus tea in the evening and beetroot juice 60 minutes before bed. That was it. Nothing else was different. He looked at me across the desk and said, "Why did it take this long for someone to tell me this?" That question stays with me. It's the reason I make these videos. Every single one of these 5 drinks works through the same fundamental mechanism: increasing nitric oxide availability and reducing vascular resistance so your arteries can relax while you sleep. 5 different drinks, 1 root cause. And the moment even one of them becomes part of your evening routine, your body begins responding. You have everything you need right now, not next week, tonight. Let's bring this all together so you leave here with something real. 1. Warm low-sodium broth, 1 cup, 30 to 45 minutes before bed. 2. Hibiscus tea, 1 cup unsweetened, 60 to 90 minutes before bed. 3. Tart cherry juice, 8 ounces unsweetened, 45 to 60 minutes before bed. 4. Warm water with magnesium glycinate, 100 to 200 milligrams, 30 to 60 minutes before bed. 5. Pure beetroot juice, 8 ounces, 60 to 90 minutes before bed. That's it. No exotic supplements, no expensive equipment, just 5 drinks you can find at any grocery store. Now here's what I want you to do right now. Pick just one, not all 5. One that feels most realistic for you to try tonight. Maybe it's the hibiscus tea because you can get it anywhere. Maybe it's the magnesium in warm water because you've been meaning to try magnesium anyway. Just one. Start there. Sustainable change doesn't come from overhauling everything at once. It comes from one small decision repeated until it becomes invisible. Not tomorrow. Not after your next appointment. Tonight. Which one are you going to start with? Tell me in the comments. I read every one of them. If this helped you, please share it. Someone in your life is managing blood pressure quietly, feeling frustrated by the numbers, doing everything they think is right, and still wondering why it's not enough. This conversation might be exactly what they're missing. Subscribe if you haven't. Every week I put out information like this, the kind I wish I had time to share with every patient but never do in a 15-minute appointment. One last thing, and this is important. Everything I've shared today is general information based on current research and my clinical experience. It is not a replacement for your personal medical care. Please do not stop or change any blood pressure medication without speaking to your doctor first. Bring this to your next appointment. Show your doctor what you're adding to your evening routine and have the conversation together. Your doctor is your partner in this, not your opponent. The connection between sleep quality and blood pressure is something thousands of viewers have told me completely changed how they approach their nights. I highly recommend you watch that one next. I'll see you there.